How many people sign up for this?
1,200.
Crazy.
Oh.
Dude. Yes, my love. Okay. D, I'll be right back. I grab something.
Right, go ahead,
how many
buddy.
people sign up for this?
1,200. Oh.
Dude. Yes, my love. Okay. D, I'll be right back. I grab something.
Right, go ahead,
how many
buddy.
people sign up for this?
1,200.
Dude. Yes, my love. Yo, D.
I'm on mute. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I thought I was on mute. What's up?
I can hear you. Yo, there's this thing. There's this thing I want to talk to you and Darius about because I'm trying to draw all these parallels of like history and what you guys did. And there's this whole thing for me about like all these stories about men who had unfulfilled journeys. Like they tried to do something which was like, you know, valiant, but they ultimately ended up not really achieving what they wanted to achieve. They never found empire. You know what I mean? They didn't find it anyway because it was already there. But the quest to do that was, you know, we get it, but they never fulfilled the total narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about. I want to ask you guys about this whole thing about what you want to get out of the journey and what you end up not getting versus what you gain and what you end up not gaining. You know what I mean? The lessons learned. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know why, man. I don't know why. I just feel like you all out there making that film just so it just seems so when you were making it, it was mythological for me. You know what I mean? Like I just could only imagine. So I don't know, maybe I'm making stuff up, but I feel like it's just in general, in your practice anyway, you know, this seems like this might be the embodiment of like the danger, the cost, the lack of money, the story to be told, the people that went to make it, like what you got out of it, what you learned, and then what you unlearned, and then what you put forward that you weren't able to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of it is the parallels of filmmaking, right? It's like how many times do we strive to make something for so many reasons we can't, and when you're making a movie that has so many inherent physical obstacles, any way to make it, that experience is magnified.
That's it.
You know, because you know, and it becomes its own little journey about you know, man versus nature in a certain way. It's like, you know, so many, you know, you start with so many grandiose ideas of how you want to tell a story visually, and you realize, okay, we're kind of at the beck and call of what nature will give us, and how do we play within those goalposts.
That's it. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
That's good. Okay, so I think Maria's about to get the YouTube link so that YouTube will get hot ahead of the other thing. Okay. I'm just gonna go, let me see if she sent it yet.
Hello. You hear me?
Darius.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey, man.
Hey.
How are you?
How are you?
Good, man. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. You look very good.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise.
I love I love the thing you did with Reed. I was telling. I really loved it. I was really very strong, very good.
Oh, thank you, man. No, we excited about this. I'm excited about this, brother.
Thank you for doing this together.
No, this is a dream.
I really couldn't be a better person. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. No, where are you now? Are you in your place in France, in south of France?
No, I'm in a friend's place. I'm a friend's place in south of France. And he's an artist called Eric Effergan, and he's
oh yeah.
You know Eric?
Oh yeah, I know his work very well. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's this is his workshop, like it's a studio where he puts all his things. It's the only place that was really quiet.
Yeah. Right on. Oh, that's incredible. Small world, huh? Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay, you see me? You see me good?
Yeah, you're good. It's perfect. You on mute. You on mute, D.
Who is on mute?
Okay.
Doug Torres.
Good. I was muted.
Doug Torres, you mute on purpose?
Yes, I didn't want to talk so loudly, Darius. So just so we all know, right now we are currently on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube because we have to send that feed ahead of the broadcast feed for Zoom. So Darius, just so you know this, so that what we'll do is right at 12 o'clock, we'll do a little, right before 12 o'clock, we're going to broadcast and we'll go live on Zoom and then we'll start. Okay. So that will be the process. So now that we're all here and good, and everyone's happy with their sound and their video, Darius, can you hear us both pretty good?
Yes, very well.
Okay. And Bradford, you're good, buddy?
Very good.
I hope I will be understandable with my French accent. Sometimes it creates problem. I hope you understand.
No, it's the problem is you might not understand us.
Doug
on the set sometimes look at me like this.
I'm always understanding you, my friend. And and so we know that there's we have and I just got a text. There's already 25 people on YouTube who are watching us. Overall, Darius, we had about 1,200 people sign up. So we'll see how many people come. Maybe we get 600, 700. Because based upon last time, it was about 65%, 70%, 65% of who signed up actually viewed us. So that'll be pretty exciting. So
So we are already live then.
We're already live on YouTube, which would just be a couple of people who are just streaming it. They click in the YouTube link, but on Zoom, we'll go live at 12, and that's when we officially start. So right now, this is just kind of a little bit of a tech test and, just kind of like unofficial, before we launch it.
I want to see Brad too. Brad.
Yeah.
It's a long time. I remember when I met you. It was so nice.
It's incredible. My wife even remembers that day. That was insane. Yeah, yeah, she remembers. That was such a.
Yeah, I really remember it.
The surprise. The surprise. Yeah. We were looking for each other. Yeah, no, that was amazing, man. That was amazing.
That's right. Yeah, wherever you.
Exactly. And then AJ and I talk about you all the time,
Oh yes, AJ is wonderful.
Wonderful, right?
He's like a very special person.
Very
special person.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you guys are.
Thank you for. I'm sure you introduced.
No.
Nice introduction, because the way he said, thank you. It's a wonderful person to meet in life.
Yeah, he's special. He means a lot to us,
Yeah.
And thank you. Of course, thank you for all the love you give in the Black Wings, man. Thank you.
Please, yeah. The incredible special lenses, yeah.
Oh, great, man.
Very soulful. Very, very special. For lenses that are made today, they are special. Yeah, they're I don't know how they're made, but they're very, very, very exciting to. And you feel when you're. Is it okay to talk already? We can talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't the official thing, but you and Brad you can talk about it.
I don't like talking about technical things. I'm not a big technical person.
Me neither.
But these lenses, it's not about technical things. When I talk about them, they are, it's like spirits, like you can share these lenses when you use them. And the way, I mean, with Neil, and I know you're behind Neil Phantom, I think we're sharing ideas. It's not like, oh no, these lenses are like this. This is the way. That's the way they perform. These lenses is like music. It's like you play with them, and then you send them to be changed. You know, it's like a race. Like imagine if I was a race driver, and you know, it's very exciting.
Great. Yeah, we're excited, man. We thank you so much for you just trying them. And we're happy they work for you. You know.
Yeah. No. Thank you for letting us, have them, that they exist.
There will be at the end. I will ask some technical stuff at the end about you guys and your choices. No, I'll just tell you, because people have been sending in questions about that. They're really curious about how you guys choose lenses for storytelling. So I think that in the vein of talking about, what type of glass works for you guys in storytelling and how it evokes it, let's talk about that, at the end, because a lot of questions have come in on the technical side about how you guys choose glass.
Okay, I did. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I choose glass.
I only use. I just read whatever Darius used, then I use that.
What?
No, I just ask what you used, and then I use that.
No, I would be the same with you. No, it's just like, it's like family. It's like we work like wolves, like family. We are animals. Like we know that in a very small family where we exist, we use this, and we hear we're using this, or we being told, and it's if he's using this, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know you, but I know you, and
yes.
And let's try, let's try it. Let's put it in our lens, and these lenses come out. Because I test a lot of lenses, and not because the Black Wing. I tested a lot of lenses. So when I say I love them, it's because they're special.
I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I've used, like you, we use lenses from the 60s and older, maybe older, I don't know. And we try all sorts of things. I'm sure you're
yeah,
like a crazy
person.
Yeah, like me, like I'm sure, and
No, it's true. It's true.
We choose lenses, but I know we'll talk about it after.
Yeah, I want to hear you. I want to hear you talk about it. I'm very
hear you talking.
You'll both talk about it. Trust me. All right, so we're just about 2 minutes, everyone. I'll tell you when we'll do a countdown till we'll go live. And then Darius, just so you know, I'll do a little introduction in the beginning. We'll kind of say a few words like we did last week. Probably also we're going to also hold a few moments of silence like we did last week, just at the beginning, like a virtual moment of silence for everything that's going on in the world, and then we'll get into the discussions. Okay, my friend?
Sure. We're already in silence mode.
Yeah. Well, just we're the three of us are preparing nicely.
I want to see you guys.
Yeah.
You see us, right, Darius? You see all three of us?
I see you very well, yeah.
Right, good. Okay.
I see Brad, I see, I've been seeing, and Doug I haven't seen for so many time. So I pin on the thing here, pin video. Now I see Brad on big screen. And now I see Doug on big screen.
Oh, you're changing your view mode, yeah?
Yeah.
No, just to see you in big. I see you. So how does it go? The video? It turns like this by itself when you talk.
Now you're taught I can put it like this so that when the person's talking, you see that, or I can leave it like this so it's everybody, right?
Okay.
You see it everybody now, right?
I see
Okay.
small boxes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. So guys, we're gonna go live now. It's 12 o'clock. All right, so, okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, here we go. All right, everyone. Once again, thank you. I want to thank everyone for showing up. This is our second film roundtable in inside a week. So we're really trying to get these conversations happening. And we thank everyone out there in the virtual world who keeps coming to see these wonderful guests that we have on. Once again, just to let everyone know, this will be recorded and it will be in the vault at our Film Roundtable website. So if you want to go back and look at anything that was discussed, or if you want to let friends know about the conversation, please make sure you go to Film Roundtable and sign up, and you'll get registration information for the vault so that you can always come back and check out all of these interesting conversations that we're starting to have more and more of. We're trying to get, you know, a few a week as we get down into it. Before we get too deep today, we have Bradford Young once again, and we've invited my good friend, Mr. Darius Khondji, to be here for the conversation. So I want to give us a little virtual clap to my two friends out there. I know everybody watching is clapping for all of them. Now, before we get into our discussion, like we did last week, we'd like to take a moment of silence here for everyone to remember that, you know, the idea of the respect for the people who have passed away from COVID that's going worldwide. Currently, 472,000 people worldwide have died. This is up almost 40,000 since we spoke last week. So this is not something that's slowing down. This is something that just continues to trudge through. You know, so we need to keep our minds on it. As much as, you know, people think it's over and done with, it's not. We're still in the first phase of this thing, and people are still succumbing to the disease. So please, everybody, let's be mindful and let's be careful out there. We also, because such a time of social, you know, events is occurring around this, just like last time, we'd like to honor all of our Black and Brown brothers and sisters, as well as our First Nation brothers and sisters whose lives have been taken by the hands of police brutality and senseless acts of violence, not only here in the United States, but all around the world. So, you know, this is something that people are taking to the streets, and this still continues, and people's voices must be heard. So for all of this right there, let's just all take a moment of in silence, okay, in the virtual world. All right. Okay, thank you everybody for that. It means a lot to us all involved here. Okay, so so today's discussion is going to be slightly different than last week's. As those who tuned in with us, you know that we had a very family-themed event about specifically Bradford and Reed, about being home and what that meant and how they're dealing with their family. Today's going to be a little bit more of an organic, free-flow discussion between Brad and I and Darius. So as many of you do or don't know out there, Darius and I have worked together a couple times before on two James Gray projects. The first one was The Immigrant, and the second one was Lost City of Z. Two projects that couldn't be more different in terms of how they were approached, in terms of, you know, one being confined to a lot of interior and stage work, and one of them being out in the world of location, in the world of shooting in Northern Ireland for period England, and shooting in the jungles and the river of Colombia for the Amazon. One of the things Darius and I, and Bradford and I were talking about before, is the idea of the difficulties of location shooting, right? Bradford, this is something you're very curious about, right? Why don't you ask us a couple of things and we can kind of get into a little back and forth about it.
Put me on the spot.
That's right.
Put me on the spot, bro. No, I just want to say, Darius, thank you for giving us your time. I know you're with your family. I know you're with your family in France, and you guys are together, and we hope everyone is well. And, you know, we just also, I know that many of us who are watching now or watching or listening, just want to say thank you for being a total inspiration for us, man. For, you know, since I was 17, since I was 18, we've been uttering your name, and we really appreciate your contribution, not just as a filmmaker, but as an artist. You know, when we say your name, we're not just mentioning the name of a great cinematographer, we're mentioning the name of a great artist. And I think there's a difference between the two. And I think it's worth mentioning that, and really, hopefully something we can talk about in our in our conversation. Hold on one second. Something's coming up on my screen.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad. Likewise, I could say the same words. Now you're the new inspiration. I really mean it.
Oh, no.
I remember the day we met, and we really, as you remember, it was very quick meeting like
Very
this
quick.
in New York, and you had only shot maybe one or one film or two films. I had seen one film only. Mm-hmm. It was just incredible, yeah.
No.
Very vivid.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you for coming back to do this with us.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. I mean, the day we met, you know, was it's big when my wife recognized you before I saw you, because when you walked in, my back was to you, and my wife said, "Well, I said, oh, that looks like Darius Khondji." So that just shows you how much you're mentioned in my house and my practice, and I really thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot of things I want to ask you guys. I mean, specifically you and Doug, because both of you guys I consider to be artists who I really admire, and I know that you guys work really hard on your own projects separate from one another, but I know you guys have worked on some really challenging projects. And, you know, I consider James Gray to be one of the best American filmmakers living. You know, he's really inspired me in many ways. And I mean, not necessarily the film itself I was excited to see, but I was more intrigued in the process. And I think this is one of those instances where the process itself initially was more exciting to me than the actual result. You know, I assumed that it would come out beautiful, about the white man's burden to find the empire that preceded himself. You know, it is the classic story about man versus nature. It is Kurtz. It is the Heart of Darkness. You know, and we keep these stories sort of permeate history, and they never stop being interesting. The thing that I'm interested in is that I think the filmmaking journey has a lot of parallels to those journeys. You know, I remember Francis Ford Coppola said, the film director is the last bastion of dictatorship. You know, it's like the film director embodies that. And, you know, we often follow film directors into irrational but very inspired spaces to tell stories. And so I'm just curious to just hear you guys have a conversation about, you know, what that looks like, not just as a filmmaker, but like what that looks like intellectually, spiritually, when you know you're telling, number one, this very particular story about this particular person in history, but you're also journeying into a space where you started in one location and you had seemingly an abundance of resources, and then you end up in another location and you're challenged by the lack of resources, or you make a creative choice to not have as many resources so that the film can have, in a very painterly way, can have different strokes. I'm just curious about what were your thoughts? You know what I mean, Darius, like, what were you thinking before you headed off into Colombia? You headed off into to tell this sort of epic, go on this epic journey to tell this epic, very complicated, problematic, but also beautiful story.
I mean, Doug can say a lot about it, because behind the Eminence Grise is behind every, you know, the whole project with James. No, for me it was like a cosmic journey. You know, I've always wanted to do tell a story like this of a man at the search of himself and the search of his identity, and go through a trip, go to transcendent experience like this, and it was a very it was something very, very special, very cosmic, very. And so I was looking. The film was postponed like 6 months, a year, no, Doug?
Yeah, it was 6 months. We were going to go with a different actor and a different budget, and we weren't able to go with him. So it kind of got put on the back burner, and then came up again at a much cheaper price with Charlie. So we were forced to change some of the ideas that we had.
To do it with a smaller budget with it.
Yeah.
But then at some point, James put us back on the starting block and said, we want to start. We're going to start right now, like in a few weeks or months. It was like he came back, and then so it was very exciting. We thought it was at some point we thought it was lost. We were not going to do this trip, to do this incredible journey, And then he came back with a very, very strong conviction from our director, from James Gray, and we went on to follow him into this with Doug and Tony Katagas, who's an amazing producer. And no, what to say? There's so much to say, As where to start from the incredible softness and craziness of the change of light in Ireland, where everything is like miraculously beautiful, but the light is constantly changing, where people were telling us, the light is going to be changing all the time in exteriors, it's going to be very difficult, this and that. And then I remember someone back in my past, telling me, light, you just have to embrace it, you just have to go with it like a river. You just have to follow it, and don't block it. Don't lock yourself into it. Just go with the light, And in Ireland, the light changes all the time. So we went there, and it gave us so much more than what I expected. It was just the most. I rarely had the chance to photograph a movie with like mythical, incredible experience, lighting experience, and in daylight with the sun and the variation of the sun, So this was my first experience, and Ireland was just incredible. And then from that miraculous, sweet light, incredible light, we went into this trip in the jungle in Colombia. So it was an incredible journey in light, and incredible journey in your head also, because you always, Doug would say better than me, but we were hearing about what was going on in Colombia, in the difficulty, and then Doug, you were in there, right? You were in there ahead of time.
Yeah, I went there ahead to scout the locations to pick this spot that we were going to go to, because I had scouted for 2 weeks all over Colombia and found a lot of different places, but we realized we had to shoot in only one spot. So because of the amount of time, we had about 30 shooting days in Colombia to do that portion of the movie. And, it was very bare bones how we were shooting there equipment wise. I mean, we had only a couple of sets that were built, a couple of the villages, but everything we did on the river and in the jungle was, I am proud to say that I forced Mr. Khondji. I said, we're not going to be able to have lights. We have to shoot. And he thought I was joking for a lot of it. And I said, no, but I think Darius is an absolute painter when it comes to smoke and how to deal with atmosphere and heavy amounts of atmosphere on the river and in the jungle, use that as his lighting motif and his lighting technique. And we did everything we could between Darius and I to be inside the jungle when the light was really bad, and then come out of the jungle was so thick that by about 2 p.m. it was almost nighttime inside the jungle. So we would start in the jungle for the most part, and then try and work our way to the river as the light got a little bit lower, as a general rule of thumb.
And David Rodham, incredible artist, is I call him a smoke artist. He's really an artist. He's such an incredible filmmaker. He was our special effects supervisor, on the film. Right. He was the one who was doing all the special effects for us on the film. But on a film like this, the special effects you know how it is, Brad, is intimately linked. If the person is great and behaves like a filmmaker, then he becomes intimately linked with the cinematography, you know, with the storytelling. So he was there in the valley and everywhere in the distance, almost all by himself with very, very little help. Few people were helping him, but he was like and then he was doing everything. I mean, we would have never been able to have that look without him. Don't you think, Doug?
Yeah, it was very important. It was crucial, you know, in terms of, you know, the aesthetic and the type of look that we created was to be able to use that smoke. And it was literally, you know, he would deep into the woods laying layers of smoke, and then also, you know, have a couple of, you know, we had several fishing boats, about 8 or 10 fishing boats, which is what our equipment would load into. And David had, you know, 1 or 2 of these where he had smokers on them, and he would just zip up and down the river laying a base level of smoke onto the river for Darius, you know, and it'd be like, no, we can't, oh, smoke's right, let's shoot. So it was always this, you know, it was a very interesting, I mean, you know, as I remember that, it was very interesting, and it was a very important tool for Darius.
And
yeah, but it's great to be able to talk to Brad about this thing, because I know it goes in depth in you, and you know so well already all this, and it resonates in a different way. But in a way, when I think about our work, it makes me think of something when I hear Doug, is that the cinematography of it's linked. It's the first cinematographer in a way is the director. Sometimes the director. I mean, I've been lucky, but cinematographer is James Gunn. Create the mood, you know what I mean? But it only exists when you have Doug, when you have James, Anthony, you know, this person, and our incredible gaffer that was with me all the time, with giving all his heart, Franz Vedering, you know, there are people like, and you know, and my camera operator, I remember my camera operator was amazing, Berto. The people that give themselves with, you know, like children. They all with people. What I love in filmmaking, it's a process of children. I remember a key grip once telling me when I was young, when I was started, that it's like us playing with, or he was a director maybe. It's like playing with Lego. You know, we have tools that we can play. We can play like children, and then it was our heart. We were like children too. We open the big eyes, and we want to discover the world and make movies, which is we've always dreamed to do. Few of us have this conviction in us, and we have this belief, and we're like kids, you know. And when I say kids, we have our heart was pure, you know. And the movie was made a bit like this, don't you think, Doug?
Very much so. It was one of these, you know, we throw around the term labor of love loosely, but it was truly a labor of love.
Yes.
Let me ask you if you feel like that's, because I think that's a really interesting analogy. It's one of those films that strikes me that, you know, you walk in, and it's so true, Darius. Like I kind of duly noted that, like, you know, when you're making films, you ultimately are children. There's no way you can render the sort of spiritual connection, cosmology of a film if you don't go in as a child. If you go in as a totally realized adult, you're never going to get cinema. You know, cinema is from the perspective of a child. I think I'm curious to see, like, if you feel like you go in as a child, and I guess specifically with something like Lost City of Z, because it seems to me that the film is about a hardened process and a rites of passage, right? And it's about a generational responsibility. A man's dream is passed on to the next generation. How flawed or how you interpret it is still a beautiful transmission of responsibility. And I feel like my notion of you guys in Colombia making that film felt like, again, another hardened journey where real lessons and real knowledge would be gained, even though we go on with a lot of experience making films. Every film is different, and you come out with a different kind of knowledge. If you feel like I guess the question is, if you felt like you went in, if you go in as a child, like what at the end of the film, with all of that, the challenges you had, what's the kernel of wisdom that you learned specifically on that journey? What's the one thing that you celebrate or sort of crystallizing your mind the most?
Oh, we come out at different.
Exactly.
I mean, Doug, tell. I'm sure you're...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's right. It's you know, it's one of these things where you create a group with a band of brothers and sisters. Like the idea of like experience brings people together, right? And especially hardened experiences brings people together. And this was the type of thing, like I've said it often to people. I say, it was the hardest thing I ever did. I'm glad I did it, but I will never do it again. Like, it's the process was so painful day in, day out. It's just the difficult level of it, right? Like, filmmaking at its in the vein of like Coppola and Apocalypse Now, this was a much, that was 250 days. This was a much less version of that. But every day we would wake up at about 4:30 in the morning. We would make our way to, take a ride to the river of about another 30 or 40 minutes, right? We'd get to the river, we'd load into about 8 or 10 boats. The river was our roadway, right, Darius? It's how we went up and down, because the Don Diego River is where they shot The Mission. Like, it is a really uninhabited place, The Mission was shot there, and it's like, but they were there for a much longer time with a lot more equipment than we had, but the idea is that, you get into this, the method of how you're going to shoot it. It's like, you got to get onto equipment onto the boats. You got to take the boats, upriver to a jungle location. You got to load out. You got to, because everything was so lush and fresh and uninhabited, we would often every day step into a location to shoot it for the first time. If it wasn't like, one of our village sets that were built, and we did our best to maintain the leaves, right, Darius, and the fauna and how thick everything was, so that we wouldn't spoil it, so that we could be there naturally, and that we could find this level of overgrowth that was true to the storytelling. And, it becomes a really hard process on you. And then, 3 to 4 days a week, by about 4 or 5 p.m., the rain would start to come, and the rain would come really hard, and we would just load up into our boats, and while it's raining, take the boats back to unload. And then it was every day. And then you wake up the next day and do the same thing. So, and we were a very tight time frame. It wasn't like we could extend and like go later. Like, we left on the exact day we had to leave. And Darius and I were talking about this before. One of the last days we were there, because the Don Diego is at the base level of a mountain range. In the Andes. So what would happen, sometimes it would rain way up in the Andes, and we wouldn't know it. It was nights by us. So one of our last days there, it had been raining all day up in the mountains. And towards the end of the day, we're lining up, setting up like a nice shot around dusk, end of day. And all of a sudden, and we're on the bank, we're on this beach bank of the river. All of a sudden, water starts coming up the beach a little bit. And the locals start telling us, let's get out of here. It's on, it's coming. And we're like, what? That's just a little water happening here. Literally, right, Darius? Within 15 minutes, the river had taken over the whole area we were in. We were absolutely flooded out, like up, it had just, it had just swelled.
It was very dangerous. The water goes very, very high. It's actually very dangerous, this water coming out, right?
Yeah.
The height would go like, how high up would it go on the?
It came up, washed up the bank. So it's one of these things. It's a constant reminder that, you're going to tell the story of man and nature, because I'm not going to say versus nature, because nature always wins.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? There is no man versus nature, because nature wins.
It was like a character of the river. It was very beautiful, very sensuous, very voluptuous, very beautiful, and very welcoming and incredible. And you really feel like the character. When I see, I remember when I watched Lost City of Z the first time, and I see those shots, those close-ups, those really close-ups of Charlie looking around like this. This is how we're all the time, looking around, being mesmerized by the birds, incredible birds and animals and crocodiles. And but then suddenly that creature, the river, becomes like very violent. It's like God. It's almost like a Greek Odyssey. Don't you think?
I do. And because I promised Brad.
Exaggerate a bit, maybe.
No, that's it.
I wanted, just, and not to make too much more of it, we can do this quickly, but Darius, I came across some photos of us that I wanted to share, because I thought it could be interesting, if I can get this working properly. Okay, let's see here. Yeah. Okay, you guys see this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is, we're talking about just at the simple level, right? There's nothing fancy. This is literally a boat made of bamboo. That was our camera platform. And this is how we would be adjacent to other actors to kind of shoot their coverage, you know? And this is like, you know, how we'd be going down the river. We'd have a little flotilla. This boat in here would be like where James would be. This would be video. This is obviously where the actors are, and Darius is probably somewhere in here with camera and the other camera teams. But it's like, it's, you know, it's literally, and then we would literally have to move, you know, the picture rafts up and down the river with another boat, you know, and then start shooting, and always have to kind of be cognizant of the level of water and the current, you know, just to understand. But, you know, this is not a ton of stuff. This is a photo I love. Look at this. This is, we're getting notes. Darius and I are getting notes from James and the other boat. Here's Charlie. And there's Darius, like trying to always listening in to James and I talking to understand what the note was for the actor to do, right? So, but, you know, right, Darius, like I lived in the river, right? I became the river monster.
You were in the water all the time.
You know, and then it's like, so this is like some aspects of the pristine jungle that we're talking about. You know, this is like, we would go into jungle. None of this is set dressed or art design. This is the real jungle there. We made a conscious effort to not disturb anything, you know, so that it could look as true as possible. You know, here's an element, tough to tell in the shot, but this is kind of like what we're talking about with the smoke getting laid into the river, you know? So this is like, you know, getting ready to do a shot where these boats were going down here once again. Is the video. Is this all coming back to you now, Darius?
Yeah, now it's coming back. I always, you know, you do movies after movies, you do movies, and then you go to another story, and then you forget all these. The first, when I look at it, was I really there? Was I really on this?
Right, exactly.
It looks so incredible and crazy and low tech. You know, it doesn't look
very
like
low tech. I mean,
right?
Very low tech.
What is your opinion? What is your opinion when you see pictures on your? Because have you already been on something like this? I know you are going to be, I'm sure, on project like this, but this is.
No, I never. I mean, I made a beautiful film that I think is probably the film that I wish most people would have seen of mine, called Vara. And we shot in Sri Lanka, and we shot in the jungle.
I'm gonna watch it. What is it called?
It's called Vara, V-A-R-A. Vara.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, and we had similar challenges. It was the story didn't require us to go through this kind of rites of passage, because it was about two young people living in this environment and trying to pursue a forbidden love affair. But it posed a lot of challenges, you know, like I'm from the city, so taking myself into that environment, a lush jungle like that place that I'd never been before, with all of the sitting in rice paddies and these red bugs, saying, everybody say, okay, don't let that bug bite you, because if it bites you, you'll die. But still trying to get the shot. You know that there's that insect, there's that snake that's gonna kill you, but you still need to get the shot. Or like, you know, here, just watching you guys having as much available light as you had, using fire as the light. You know, we had all of that, but it wasn't to this extent, because the story didn't call for me to do this. But no, I've never shot a film. That's why I'm so curious, because I think the thing that I always say in my head when I get real frustrated with films where I'm on the stage and, you know, I'm going lunches at a particular time and everything's worked out and everything's manicured, on those days where I'm frustrated, I say, damn, I just want to go to the jungle with two friends, no lights, Super 16, and shoot some real shit. You know what I mean? And so this is the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about it, because I know at the heart of who we are as filmmakers, films like The Mission, you know what I mean? Like Chris Mingus and Mr. Jaffe, like that rites of passage of making that film that had so much to look at.
Yeah.
It also has so much to say. Like that film has so much to say. Like you get these opportunities, I think they rarely come for us. And when they come for us, we have to take them. And I just think
they're incredible time, the time of The Mission, when Chris went to do The Mission. It must have been like crazy time. When was it? 80s, early 80s? Or
early 80s. Yeah, like 80, 81, you know? Yeah. And I think the world was ripe, right? The world needed those kind of progressive filmmakers to go and tell these stories that challenge some of our institutions. The one thing I would love to hear you guys talk about is, I think there are two things I want to say. One thing I want to say is to all the young people that are watching that, look, here goes Mr. Darius Khondji and Mr. Doug Torres, two of our celebrated, well-seasoned artists who make films prolifically, and they still accept the challenge and oftentimes welcome the challenge of going into specific situations with very little resources, because that tension of having very little resource oftentimes yields something very spiritual and very connected, and often yields something beautiful in the story. So I think that, for all the young filmmakers that are oftentimes frustrated with maybe having one or two lights or not having enough, seemingly not having enough resources, I think it's good for us to remind them that that's always going to be part of your process. You're always going to bump up against that. And I think the challenge is how we get around that, how we find our identity even within the challenge, I think is the beautiful part of the journey, I think the one thing that, again, for maybe some of the non-filmmakers or some of the younger filmmakers, I think I just want to put a little energy towards Doug and would love for you guys to talk about it, that there are a lot of assistant directors in the world, but there are only a few that are like true artists, filmmakers who understand, for specifically, if you and I, Darius, are a little bit self-centered a little bit for a couple of seconds, like there are only a few that really respect what we do as image makers and really respect the light and the fact that the light has to tell a story, and they're as much invested in the light story as us. I know that with a film like this, you guys have some particular timeframes and some particular challenges about when you needed to be certain places. I would love to hear, Doug, you kind of talk about your understanding of that. Why is it that in your practice, this I know about you, we've only worked together once, but we've had connection through many, many spaces. And I know this about you, that you care about the light, you care about the story we're telling, and you understand that relationship. Where's that come from? Where did you get that?
Well, for me, I mean, honestly, I think like in a previous life, I was a cinematographer.
There it is.
Like, for that, it's that simple. And Darius knows this. I'm obsessed with the beautiful light and images being great, and how can we get there? And I think, that's why, I mean, I work with a lot of the same people over and over again. It's like, it's like, we get back to the idea of the team game, how this works, right? Yes, someone's got to be, the logic person who helps us understand we've got to do A, B, and C to make, to meet our goals. But I do that with an eye to the beauty that we're trying to capture, and I think, I mean, I know that not everyone who does my job does it that way, but for the DPs who I've worked with, they know that I'm obsessed with beautiful imagery.
There you go.
You're completely focused on the light, the moment of the light, and you make us even, even if I forget for a moment, you are completely driven into getting us the light that we have asked, the director and I have asked for. Yeah, that's quite unique. There are very, very few. It's not anymore AD. When for me, an assistant director, it goes so far beyond the work of an AD that I learned when I learned what an AD was. It just you and few other very, very unique, this perception.
I remember
this generosity, at the same time this drivenness and this perception of things.
I remember
to make a film.
Yeah, I remember, I had, when I first made my first feature, or first like early features that had a little bit of resource, and we had an AD. I remember how nervous I was about time, right? Because time is this continuous thing that humans struggle with anyway, but this whole variable of time. And I remember the first time I worked with Doug, I remember the first time I worked with H.H. Cooper, man, was like time.
Oh, yeah,
H.H. I knew time, right, Blueberry Nights. Our time was important, but time, I was not aware of time. You know what I mean? What I was aware of is that I needed to get something done, and it seemed like I guess what I'm trying to say is that the best ADs nurture. The best ADs create a safety net around us so that we can move forward in the same direction, but make sure that the work is excellent, and make sure that spiritually we feel fulfilled, and that when we're ready to go, we're really ready to go. And I think that I'm not gonna say it's a dying art form, but it's because I know it's not. There are many baton carriers of that. But I think it's really important in a film like Lost City of Z, or even I would even say Uncut Gems. You know what I mean? Like where you guys are dealing with light in a different way. It's a totally different expression of light and time. It's just beautiful to hear you guys.
It's a completely different rhythm of time.
Completely different rhythm, right?
Different music, Uncut Gems and Lost City of Z, but no, but you it's so well said what you're saying, Brad, about the work of Doug and the work of this kind of sublime AD, the way they were do the work is very, very, very special. That's why I don't know how to call it, because AD is exactly the right expression. Sometimes I call it producer, like a director, like cinematographer, you know. They become everything. They become
everything.
Like an entity, like that's very, very powerful, that makes us, that inspires, and it's like an engine, that inspires.
That's some very kind words, gentlemen. And for me, as I said before, it's just all about the team, which I think is something we try and teach to young filmmakers, out there, that it's like, if you have 3 people with amazing heart together to make a project, or 4 people, I mean, that's, you don't need a huge ensemble of things. You just have to have people who are passionate and want to work together to, accomplish something beautiful.
Because, when you say teamwork, and I hear it, and it's a wonderful word and all that, I always feel, well, it's a nice things and all that. But it's these young people you're talking about, or less young, or whoever is listening to us, I think the team idea, this idea that I was telling recently about it, that it's not one person. The film is the texture of the film, the tapestry of the film is made of our flesh and blood and life and despair and happiness. And it's really a team. It's a group of people that make this. Okay, they're incredible directors, they're incredible people that make films, but it's really a team behind. That's why when sometimes movies I brought down to the extreme of minimalism, which I respect, which I love, which is like Alain Cavalier in France, or Terrence Malick in the US, and I respect, and that's so wonderful. But at this moment where they lose something, which is the teamwork, it's very important that we have few people that create. It doesn't need to be extremely a big number of people. It needs to be a teamwork, a team idea, a group of people working together. I really believe in that. Even with the greatest, more unique directors in the planet, and we've both had the chance to work with few of them, right? But the texture of the team behind is very, very important. So it's not just words. People who are listening to us, it's really important to know that it's not one person that has these ideas. It's made of. I was telling about my guy from France, but it's all these, or David, or Doug. It's just this. We just have to find the right band. When we enlist for a film, when we decide, or the director wants to decide with you, and you want to work with it, you just have to gather a good crowd, a good crew around the project. It's not necessary. I know I'm not going to say something that's so nice, but it's not necessarily always the same crew. And being loyal is a great thing, but you have to be honest, and you have to be true. You have to tell your crew. I remember telling my crew, I was working with like really nice director, like easy to work with, and easier to work. And then I was moving on to work with a director that has a reputation of being very, very tough and very hard. So I explained, it was in France. It was 2 movies in France, and I told my crew that I loved so much, and I really wanted them to do my next movie. But I told them, I gathered them, and I told them, you really have to tell me if you want to do this next film. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be different rhythm, different texture, different kind of director. It's going to be as great a director, but it's different and hard. and you have to know the crew is very important, you know. Don't you think? I mean,
yeah, community. It's
not
community.
necessarily always the same. Is every movie is a different story. So if you embark on a journey with a director, the crew has to really realize what they're putting there on, even if they're the best crew, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are like a band. We play together in tune. We improvise all together. We play incredible riff of guitar music. You know, it becomes incredible, but only if the crew believes in the project, in the director, the producer, the way it's going to be produced. Not only necessarily with a small production or a bigger production, but if we have this heart from the crew, we go. And again, it's the crew that the ship, you know.
Yeah.
The ship is made with the crew.
Yeah.
So it's not just words when I hear, you know, teamwork. It's true.
It's true. It's true. It's true. No, I think you said it before. There's a cosmology that has to be created,
Yeah.
and it's not always transferable from one project to the next. You know, you're using a different, and the story, you know, the story determines the journey. I think there's a gaffer who I love to work with, who is a teacher and a friend, educator. His name's Christian Epps, and I wish every film would be the right film for us to do together. But for like the last 5 films, they've all seemed not the right one, because for him, I want it to be perfect. I want it not perfect. I want it to be right. And so I know the feeling. I used to wrestle with that. Struggle with that a lot, because
Me too.
the sense of loyalty, and you want to bring people and you want to have the continuity, but
it's like a group together.
But the music analogy is amazing, because it's like, you know, as I'm sure you and AJ have talked about many times too, you know, Miles Davis is the best example of the evolution of the sound was totally determined by the evolution of the band, right? So there's no way he could have made Dark Magus with John Coltrane. John was already dead, but there was no way he could have made Dark Magus with John. It's just 2 different things. So I agree. Yeah, I think it's really, and I think that's good for young people to hear, that you really have to curate. You really have to curate every experience.
Curate. This is the word, curate. Yeah, I really believe that you have to curate.
Yeah, no, such a good point.
You know, you guys bring up, as I've been fielding some questions from some people. I mean, you talk about story, which is so paramount, and the technical side of that is, you know, how do you guys choose? A lot of young filmmakers are curious about the decision of lenses that cinematographers use. How do you let story dictate, from a technical aspect, how you approach your choice of lenses?
I don't know, Brad.
Darius.
I just worked with Blackwing lenses, and I sold. No, I'm only half joking. No, I've always thought, you know, like the it's true. I read once, the lenses is like the eyes, you know, it's like the window of the soul. It's true. So the moment you think about it's the window of the soul, is the image, is it's through that crystal. It's like water. Lenses are made with water, so the light goes through water, and you see how light goes through water in the sea, for instance. The way you see light through water, and so on a pool, the way it moves. So everything goes through a lens. The lens is the most important thing. The lens, and where the light is touch the element, whether it's film, you know, or it's the sensitive, the capture, the sensor, you know. These are the 2 things, no? I mean, these are the 2 things. If we make a scheme, you know, it's like a schema. Is the light has to go through a glass, and then it touches a surface, and it remembers it, and this is us, this is our soul, this is how we see things. It's the retina of the eyes. Then we turn our face, and we have a memory of the leaves. I see the sun, I see through the leaves, and this is how we photograph it. So the lens is the most important thing. The lens is for me, lens is almost like sort of a religion. It's very religion. It's always silly to say this, but I don't know what silly things like this. But anyway, it's very important. So I always believe in old souls. So I always look for since I started, I like lenses that are not incredibly sharp and incredibly contrasty, and because I maybe because I don't see like this, but I remember Jean Renoir talking about the tapestry, a very old French tapestry, and how much he loved the texture of this tapestry, and how much he was an interview of Jean Renoir, this great French film director, by I think it was by Jacques Rivette, by another director.
Yes.
For Cinéaste de Notre Temps. And it was an amazing interview. I recommend all of you to watch it. It's on Cinéaste de Notre Temps. It was a documentary on French television in the 60s or 70s in black and white. And Jean Renoir was interviewed by Jacques Rivette in a little cafe near a park. Maybe it was in color. And he was telling about the tapestry, the old tapestry, and how much he hated all these. It was as far back in the 70s. He was saying how much he hated those modern new lenses and the crispness of the images. Now he was going in a movie and every image was so crisp and clear. I mean, there's no rule. Of course, there are movies where we want crispness or sharpness, and we want suddenly the impact of the feeling of a scene that's incredibly sharp and vivid. You know, it's strong. I mean, not everything should be like an impressionistic painting. You know, right. But Jean Renoir was talking about this, and I was so mesmerized that at the time he had this clearness in his mind to think about this, and like a painter. He was thinking like a painter, you know, about the light and all the. So lenses, the choice of lenses, therefore, comes from that thinking, you know, of you choose your lens like I don't know. I don't know. Music. It's like music. You know? Yeah. Again, it's like music. Like you choose the violin, or you choose the guitar. You hear the tune. The lenses. You read a story. Everything comes from a story. You read a story, or you're being told by a director a few words or a few lines, and some essential thing that's coming from a director. It's like a quintessence, and then you get that, and the lenses, you found the lenses, all the technique. That's why I don't like talking about technique, because technique comes from the director. What you read, what Brad is going to read, is going to find this script, incredible script, and then you're going to be so moved by the director talking about the story you want to say, and then the lenses, it's going to come. It comes from there. And the camera, the type of camera, and there's no rule. The rule is that there's no rule. Yes. I photographed the last thing online with an iPhone, and I think it's going to be the director is important. The director asks you a crazy idea sometimes, or not crazy ideas. That's the technique. That's what creates everything. That's the Big Bang. That's the beginning. No, I mean.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, you know, I don't really have much more to add. Honestly, that's exactly my feeling. Is that I do know one thing: without a lens, there would be no cinema, and so that sparks up many things in me, in my consciousness. And you know, without this, it doesn't have to be glass. It doesn't have to be glass housed in a mechanical device. We're talking. It could be a hole. It could be a pinhole. But I know the idea of optics, the idea of a prismatic reality. That's what makes cinema. You know, that's what
you think about the first lens. I imagine the brother Lumiere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Edison, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
The beginning. Always go back to the beginning, how it all started.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say. It's a long answer for
no,
but Brad, yeah.
No, but I was gonna say, I think no, it's not. That's ultimately why we're here. I mean, I think the whole thing. One of the phrases I love that Ava you always use is the mind's eye. She reminds me of the mind's eye, and the mind's eye isn't about what you're seeing now, but it's also about what you've seen. Now, it may not necessarily be what you have seen, but it may be what there's an epigenetic connection, and maybe what your ancestors have seen, and those things are always passed on, you know. And so that mind's eye is our projection. The lens is our projection. The storyteller's projection into the world, whether it be projected on a wall or projected on a surface or projected through something again in order for the audience to reinterpret it and see it in a particular way. The lens is the thing that allows us to project all the tenor, all the oscillating emotional arcs of a lifetime, of a culture, of joy, of pain. This is what the lens allows us to do. It allows us to take all of that out of our mind. The eye in our mind allows us to project that onto the story. The story is created with its own particular baggage, right? The storyteller brings all of that knowledge, all of that wisdom, all of that sort of visceral, cerebral thing to the table. It's filtered through many things, trauma, culture, all of these things, right? And they tell the story. They write the words. They tell the story. Then we have to ingest the story. And then it has to go through our own filtration process. We have to find ourselves in the story, whether it be finding our grandmother in the story, or finding our children in the story, or finding a flower that we saw as a child that we now remember seeing, and that's also in the story. That thing then has to be projected, filtered through something else. And the thing that's so interesting is that it ultimately boils down to this very mechanical thing, but within the mechanical thing is something that's beyond, to me, I'm with you, it's beyond explanation. It's just, I know when it's the right lens by the story first. But then, as I know you do as well, Darius, we go and we do serious testing. Unless there's already a lens that we've used and we say, okay, no, this story needs that lens. I know these are the lenses I'm using, or we go and we test. And then it's that moment, like that folks always remind us about John Coltrane. Then it's about trying to find the note that is in the ether that you're trying to pull back into the stratosphere. It's like when you see it, when you see that face usually, or you see a stroke of light through that particular lens, that's when you know you've made the right choice. And you make, and it's very organic and very fluid. It's not rigid. It's not fascist. I saw it on Tuesday, and when I revisit it on Wednesday, I might say, no, it's not right. It's not right. And again, those moments in human development also determine what we choose. I think the hardest part is making the decision to say, okay, this is what I'm using, because I know that halfway through the process, I might say, no, this isn't what I want to say anymore. I might want to say something else. But ultimately, I know for the sake of the story, I might need to stay consistent. But that's off on another thing. But it's the story. It's what I want to project into the narrative. Is what I want to show the world. Is how I determine what lenses I use. And it's hard for me to reduce it to a single process. It's very irrational. It's too organic to do that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
And there's never a rule from one film to another film, where, it's a completely different music. It's a completely different, John Coltrane was such a good, I could hear the music when you say that. And for me, music it's like lighting, it's like camera, music and light and camera work and light is directly related. The rhythm, the rhythm of a scene, the rhythm of an actor, the way an actor talks, the rhythm of an actor delivering the line, or the rhythm of a scene, of the camera movement, the way we track and move and follow the actor in a scene, or not follow, or the rhythm of being static, the top. And it's the lenses is the good thing now is that there are a lot of different lenses. And I was only half joking, because what I love in these Black Week lenses is that you tune them. You can tune them like they're like old souls, but you can bring them some modernity into them. You can photograph more modern story with them with an edge, And I just love. For me, it's like music. I would like to be a musician now.
Me too.
I'm sure you do too.
Me too, man. The musicians are the only artists that I'm jealous of. All the other artists, I'm like, whatever. But musicians.
One more life and I'll be a musician.
Me too. Me too. What instrument would you play?
That's a good question. Piano, maybe? Piano?
Yeah.
Piano or guitar?
Yeah.
Piano is which one instrument would you play?
Yeah, no, 10 years ago, I would have said the bass, but I've grown to really, really over the last few years, really grow to love and be obsessed with the piano.
Oh, piano.
It's just something.
Yeah, piano is limitless, no?
Ubiquitous, exactly. It's just it's crazy. The infinite potential of sound is insane.
Yeah, with music you can create the feeling of light with a tune, no? With an accord.
Right. Yes.
I mean, that's an amazing correlation. Always, it's gone back for the longest time, right? Music and moving pictures. The idea of music to images, this is something that's been the tandem of storytelling for a very long time. You know, there's two ways that the two things go together to heighten the emotion, right? If you just looked at a visual that the artist was trying to tell you, your emotion would not go to the same place as music that accompanies that visual.
Yeah.
I've always found that, like, it's very, it's so important also from a filmmaking standpoint. When you see directors who consciously use no music, you become so hyper conscious of the images in the scene because there's no music to accompany it, because that's what the audience has become so used to, right? There's so much guide track to tell you how to feel emotionally to accompany the video, that when it isn't there, it's almost like extra spooky, extra strange, hyper concentration on the visual.
Robert Bresson used it like this. You're in a scene, it's completely silent, and then there is a car coming, and the music is in the car.
It's in the car, right?
The car comes, and the music comes louder and down. I love this idea of organic using the music like this. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's too much music in movies all the time. Music, even sometimes it's fairly good music, but it's drowned. The movies are drowned with music. So much music, and it's so, I don't know, so cliche, so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a bit upsetting sometimes. I have a kind of a final question that I want to ask, which is, I think this is back to Lost City of Z, and maybe I've kind of already asked this question, but maybe in a different way, is that what do you feel like you unlearned? Like, what do you feel like, maybe it's not about Lost City, it's about film, period. Like, something that the last film you worked on that really touched you in this way, what did you feel like you unlearned? Because I really am tuned into this whole thing of sort of demystifying the process a little bit for young people, so they don't feel like there's some predetermined, worked out thing where you bring knowledge to the table and then you leave with the same knowledge. Like, what do we?
No, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, what do you feel like we? What's the thing that you feel like we give up? What's the thing that we feel like we give in the process that we should have no expectation on getting back? And that's the sacrifice we make to the process,
This is about love. You give, I'm not sure I understand well the question, but what you give, maybe I don't understand the question, but
you hit.
On movies, you give something. I mean, the last movie I did and made me discover again everything about my work and the way I should. It's like you rediscover things. You feel you give everything because you suddenly you are naked. You feel you in a way you break everything. You destroy yourself a bit, and then but from there comes a new feeling. From breaking things when it's necessary, when the storytelling and the director asks you in an indirect way to put everything flat back, and then something comes out, like after burning, after fire comes new leaves, new nature, and then you I don't know if I answered the question.
No, you are totally.
But of course you give yourself, but then what you get from there, what I got from being completely out of comfort zone and everything, and the is immense. Now I'm like a baby, like a new person in my heart and feeling about creation,
Yeah.
And I owe it to two young directors that my age, that made me discover, what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I can see it in the work though. I can see it in Uncut Gems. There was like not a new thing, but a sense of texture that was really beautiful for me to see you accessing, giving us.
I don't know if I'm sure it's the same for you too, but the greatest thing from one project to another is the difference.
Yeah,
totally. The flexibility when it's very different and ask you for a different thing, different reaction, different feeling. It's two stories that you love, that you want to tell the story for the camera.
Yeah.
Very, very, very different. The directors are very different. And you feel you're in a new planet, do things, and it's incredible feeling. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
This feeling of exhilarating feeling of creation.
Yeah.
That is one of the amazing things about our business that I tell people all the time. I say, you need to embrace the fact that every day you're going to be willing to learn something new, right? Every day, every project, within every project is different, and within every day of every project is potentially different as well. The amount of variables in the learning process are immense if you are open to it, if you embrace the fact that, how it can always be an ongoing learning process. Like, this is something I tell people all the time, that is something of the magic of our industry and the art form within our industry for those people who are willing to accept it, right? Because some people aren't, right? Some people aren't willing to accept it. But for those who are, it's a beautiful journey.
But sometimes I feel I'm not. Sometimes I feel I'm blocked. I'm closed. It's not. You're not always in that state of openness. I don't feel I'm always like this. It would be too beautiful. I have to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But when I am open like this, I get everything. It's like an explosion of feeling of a new world, But I don't feel I'm always this person.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I'm definitely not always that person. I was thinking about something you said about breaking things, and I'm literally and spiritually and metaphorically. My parents, when they got married, they got this. Somebody gave them this buffet. Where you put dishes on the top, and the many drawers you serve. And when I was growing up as a kid, it was in the house where I grew up, and then my parents divorced, right? And then soon after that, many years later, soon after that, my mother passed away, and then my father passed away. And so at a certain point, that buffet became mine. My sisters, it was laid out in the room, and then we all kind of said, okay, we're gonna take that chair or whatever. My sisters and I are very, very, very close. And at some point I was going to start a relationship with my partner, and the buffet came with me. And then I carried the buffet into this house that I have, that my wife and we have in the country in New York. And
I want to see the buffet.
Well, here's the story. So, but that buffet, it expresses so much joy for me as a child, eating from that, things happening around that buffet and the plates that were there. There was a smell in the buffet too that was incredible, that even till a little while ago would just bring up so many memories of my childhood. But it also kind of represented like the turbulent relationship, my parents' relationship. So I always had there's always a spirit in it that was unsettling. And then 2 years ago, I had to clean out my house upstate because we need to make room, and we were trying to redo the house. And then I got there, I was by myself, and I was cleaning up, and I looked at I needed to move it, and I needed to figure out where I was going to put it, but ultimately I wanted to get rid of it. And I called my sisters and I asked them, do you mind if I get rid of it? And they were both like, yes, let it go. Get rid of it. And I had a hammer, man. I had a hammer, and I just broke it to pieces. And it was I felt crazy doing it. It felt totally irrational, but it was what I needed to do to cosmically, spiritually restart a whole conversation for my kids, my boys, my daughter, you know what I mean, about love and relationship.
That's
And
incredible.
it also helped me exercise a whole pent up frustration I had about my parents' relationship. And high on the list, it was pragmatic because I couldn't put it anywhere. So I had to break it just to get it out of the way. And so I think that's kind of, you were saying love, and maybe love's not the right, but I think you're right, man. It's love. I think love is what we give up with nothing in return. And I think sometimes we have to break it. We have to break things.
That's an incredible story, what you're saying about
deconstruct and reconstruct it to figure out where we go next, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the beautiful part. I think that's where I received euphoria in the film journey. Is I used to, when I would make film, I used to want to go in, only a few films ago, you know, I would go in and I want to conquer an idea, visual idea. But I kind of don't go in with those expectations anymore. I really do want to like learn, you know. I want to be a better listener. I want to hear, and then I want to then start to feel what the idea visually, what the story is visually. Then I feel like that's become a better process for me, you know.
Listening is everything, isn't it? It's everything, no? Listening.
Yes. I agree.
It's phenomenal. You guys have been able to share a huge wealth. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, these are part of the things that, you know, Brad and I always talk about, and Darius, you're doing, you know, you're helping us so well, is just demystifying the idea of like what, you know, the filmmakers who are out there. I mean, there's a generational progress to this, right? Darius, you had clearly people who influence you. Darius, you have been a major influence to cinematographers all over the world of Bradford's generation, and more so. And Bradford, you, as much as, you know, you coyly don't want to admit it, are a major influence to a whole nother generation of filmmakers and DPs who are coming up. You know, so what's that?
Brad is my inspiration.
The intergenerational connection. Well, that's a bit like Darius was saying, learning all the time.
I'm honest. I'm just saying very true. I mean, it's not, I'm sure you're not surprised, but you're my inspiration.
No, I appreciate it.
When I look at work, when I see Arrival, when I watch Arrival, for me, it's an inspiring movie. I mean, the story is told and photographed with heart, you know, not with technical, only with technical things. It's incredibly technically achieved, but that's I mean, I'm getting my inspiration too.
No, thank you. Yeah, I need another 2 hours to tell you how much you've inspired me, but
Doug, sorry to cut you.
No, but that was beautiful. I mean, you just brought in the connection that I'm talking about too, is the idea, and this is something that we try to partake, how it's, you know, like from one generation to the next, and even a generation forward coming back. Like it's all about, it's the hand holding, right? It's the baton, it's the hand holding. And I don't mean like holding someone up. I mean the hand holding of love, right? The way to charitably extend knowledge, you know, up and down the line, you know, is something that we're trying to really get across with young people in these discussions like that, you know, that we've had with you, that we had last week with Reed. It's demystifying it for a lot of people who think this is such an impossible, you know, place to get to. And it's really not. It's about what's in your heart and your soul, and, you know, how you're willing to progress with it, right? And, you know, we're trying to show them people who've gotten to these positions and have been able to, you know, succeed in a level and look back to help others. You know, this is something that we're trying to accomplish here. And, you know, I think step by step, we're kind of getting there by having people like Darius come on and be able to explain the things that inspire you, that constantly motivate you, that keep you going from, you know, 1 year to the next, or reawaken even your process, as you just discussed. It is truly inspiring in lots of ways.
Totally.
You know, lots of ways.
Thank you. You never realized this, no, Brad? You never realize this about when you inspire other people. You know, when you're inspired by other people, but you never realize these kind of things.
Yeah,
but,
it's true.
But yeah.
No, it's true. It's true.
An angel passes a silence.
Yeah.
There is an angel that passes when there's a moment of silence.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
You don't have this in English?
Not that expression, no.
There is a gap. There is a moment where, for maybe 15 seconds, I don't know, the moment silent between people talking after something like this, and then we say, "Oh, an angel passed."
Oh no, we
don't have this in English.
No.
It must be an equivalent, no?
It must be some old people, some elders. Some elders probably had it. They didn't give it to us. That's incredible. I need to use that for my kids. We need 15 seconds for an angel to pass.
Tell them an ange passe.
Yeah.
An ange.
It's a beautiful image. It's a beautiful image.
It is. It is.
Listen, Darius, I want to thank you so much for your time on this. It's been a wonderful conversation. You're coming to us, coming to us from France. If we didn't make that clear early on, we've got a lot of people who've been tuning in who are actually in the European time zone with you. And that's also the beauty, right, of these Zoom things, is the ability internationally to connect with people, like all around the world. Like, we realized that last week we had so many people come in, and so many people have been going back and looking at, the talk we had last week from around the world. These are really fans globally.
I love that talk you had last week. I really was so moving and so strong between Reed and Brad. What they were saying about their life it made me. I learned a lot of things. For instance, I learned a lot of things during that talk you had together. Yeah,
that's why we're doing it.
It was really, really, really incredible. That's one of the great things of modern time, that we can do this Zoom.
That's it.
Zoom.
That's it. That's it.
It's really, there are a few good things in modern time. This is one of them.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's
I'm always very nostalgic of some things of the past, but this is a great modernity thing.
Communication.
Sorry to talk again about.
No. We all love to hear you talk, and it's exactly.
No.
You have much to say to all of us. And this is partly what we had said. Last week when we started it, is that it never in our industry has there been a time when there's so many of us around together to talk about it right now, because so many of us are just sitting on the sidelines, waiting day by day. So there is one of the best ways we feel is to have these discussions, so people know how we're feeling, what we're thinking, and what brought us to projects in the past and how we did things. I think it's a wonderful thing even here to be able to come back and talk about a movie that Darius and I did over 5 years ago, and still be able to have some fresh memories and emotions about what it was like to do that, right? It's almost like talking about children in a way,
Thank you.
So Darius,
I really liked it. Let's talk again. Let's do another chat another time.
Hey, I'm ready.
We will do this again. We will do this again. And I do want to let everyone know out there who's listening that there is going to be we're going to have another roundtable on Friday, and Maria is going to be leading that one. And that's going to be interesting too, because we have a bunch of rising young cinematographers that are friends with Maria that she knows. She's going to be talking with Allison Anders, Nico Aguilar, Pratik Shah, and John Chima. And this is going to be a really interesting talk. It's going to be something different. We're talking about, crossing the the generational line. So this is like a little bit of the newer crop, you know, that's coming up, that, you know, long admire Darius, you and Bradford, and information is going to go out for that. So please, you know, let's keep an ear out, and let's get tuned in with that. And we're going to really try and keep these coming, where we're going to have a couple of these discussions, you know, a week, just to kind of keep people interested in what we're thinking about, what we all want to talk about, you know.
What will it be? What day will it be?
It's going to be Friday, June 26th.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll personally send you some information. You want to see Maria, and just so you know, Maria's Rodrigo's daughter. She's our partner in this. Maria Prieto. She's going to be leading that group. So, you know, it'll be great to see her lead.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm going to watch her for a change.
Rodrigo is so young, no? He has already a daughter that is an adult. That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, well, once again, Darius, thank you so much. Bradford, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Great. I hope everyone out there enjoyed this.
Cheers.
Well done, my friends. Much love to all of you.
Doug, thank you for organizing this amazing talk.
Well, once again, it's, you know, with Maria's help and Aaron and Matthew, you know, and Bradford's help, we keep these things going. So, you know, I'm glad you came.
I will watch it for sure.
Good. And we're going to get you on another one, Darius. That's a promise.
All right. Okay.
All right, my friend. Much love.
Much love. Peace, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Darius. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.